Well, unfortunately, a disastrous third quarter for us, I think, was a big part of the game. First half seemed to go back and forth. Two critical turnovers in that first half. The drop pass on the post route coming out, it ends up being an interception for them. That was going to be a big play, and then Trey's fumble there. Third quarter, went down and scored, and then kind of went downhill from there in the third quarter. I guess, when I talk about every week assuming nothing, because you never know how a game's going to go. I don't think anybody would think there'd be 100 points with these two defenses and close to 1,000 yards. So, unfortunately, we didn't play very good defense today. Gave up a bunch of explosive plays, a bunch of back shoulder throws, and only created one turnover. And then offensively, we gave them the ball 4 times. You're not going to win games with a -3 turnover margin on the road. So, bye's coming at a good time. We're obviously, as you can see, extremely beat up team. So we need guys to step up and play like some guys did in the second half there.
Any update on Marquise Lee?
Yeah, obviously it didn't look very good. Didn't sound very good or look very good, so that's all I got for you.
What part of his body was hurting?
His knee.
Where do you guys go from here?
Well, I was lining up Robbie Colance and Victor Blackwell today, getting them moved around out there. So you can only go where you can go. Guys got to step up. Robbie was in our SID department working for Tim last year, and now he's in the game for us in 3 wides. So it is what it is. We got to play better, not turn the ball over. I got to coach better.
Some of your players had talked earlier in the season about how last year things kind of started falling apart. They weren't able to keep it together, and that this group was, supposedly tighter. Do you have to guard against them kind of going south at this point?
Well, I think anytime you got to worry about that. This group's a little bit different. The expectations coming in were different. So obviously losses are hard to deal with, but it's a different group in there, and some young guys in there don't really know any different. So we'll be fine.
It seemed like your defense was designed to stop an offense like this. Disappointment in what happened with that?
Yeah, I think really big surprise to all of us that would happen today. Thought we'd play really well on defense, match up really well against them. Felt that we were built very similar scheme-wise and up-front-wise to Stanford, and we saw what they did in the first half last week, and these guys really threw the ball downfield on us and made a bunch of plays. They made a ton of plays. Credit to them. Those receivers made a bunch of catches on back shoulder throws and wheel routes, and we didn't make the plays.
What was your message to them in the locker room?
We got a bye week coming up. We got to get healthy and get some guys back, hopefully. As you can tell, we're really down. I think, low 50s of scholarship players here right now with us. So hopefully we can get some guys back healthy, and then, some walk-ons got to enhance their role and play for us.
Elaine, if you have a full complement of scholarships, is Marquise Lee returning a punt? And I know he's the punt guy, but if you have a full complement, does he in that game at that time?
I don't know. He probably really normally wouldn't be our punt returner, because of stuff earlier in the year. But, then when Sua got banged up, we kind of flipped him back there. And Darius, being out has hurt us because Darius was really the next returner.
You had to be pleased with the running attack, though, with Justin Davis and Trey Madden.
Yeah, those guys, they ran hard. I think you saw the glimpse tonight of, what we've seen all through camp in Justin, of big playmaking ability, versus some really good defensive players in there. That was really impressive by him. And Trey ran really hard and took the screen pass. And Trey's pretty beat up. That's a lot of touches through 5 games that he's had. I can't imagine there's more touches a guy's had in a long, long time here in 5 games.
Do you feel the identity of this team now based on the way it rushed the ball? That's going to be the identity for the balance of the season, that maybe you'll go even deeper into a rushing type of attack? Or?
Well, it all depends. Like I tell you guys every week, you don't know how the game's going to go. We wouldn't have thought there'd be 100 points in this game, and Cody made some really big plays today in the passing game, and getting out of trouble there, and then we ran the ball really well. But also we turned the ball over 4 times.
You talked this week about the scholarship numbers and how it's kind of changed the way you've had to practice. Does that play into what happened here tonight, maybe?
I don't know. I'm not going to get into the whole thing of numbers and what they had to do with tonight. It is what it is. Everybody's got problems, and we're just trying to maximize the situation that we're in, go back and get healthy, and get ready to beat Arizona.
But have you had to kind of change the way you practice?
Well, yeah, that's that's pretty obvious. When the numbers go down to where they are, we don't practice the same, and our guys play a lot of snaps percentage-wise of defense and special teams, and it takes its toll on them. But we just I got to coach better.
So if you guys had won tonight with this long break, it kind of would have been a reprieve. Maybe some of the pressure off. Now you personally are going to have to endure the next 12 days. Are you prepared for that, or what do you expect?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I've been dealing with that for 12 months, so that's fine. That's the last thing I'm worried about. We got to find a way to coach better and play better, and get our backups ready.
Starting off 0-2 now in the conference, and had lost one of your main competitors in the South. What do you think your chances are now in the Pac-12, if any?
Well, I'm not worried about that. We can't control way down there. We can just go back to work, go back to practice, and get better, take care of the ball better than we did today, and get more turnovers. Because that was a big part of the game today.
Do one more for Coach. You seem really charged after Madden's touchdown run gave you the lead. You seem really charged up. Like you played work, and then like two minutes later, you were down 2. I mean, it seemed like such a quick swing.
Yeah, it really was. Coming out of halftime, it was kind of, we were banging back and forth and screwed up with the 2 turnovers in the first half, and really felt, from watching it, we had done some good stuff and outplayed them at times, and so we just had to fix the turnovers, and to come out right away, in the third quarter and take the first one down. As Scott will tell you, that's the first time in like 100 games we've scored in the third quarter, so we called a good play for once. It was just good energy. We take the lead right there in the second half, and felt that we'd be able to run the ball on these guys well, and especially in the second half. And unfortunately, we turned the ball over and didn't play good defense.
How did you see that pick six? I'm sorry, Kim. How did you see the pick six?
Yeah, well, on the back side of it, they went 2 and over and walked Sam up at the last second, and the tight end made a man call, and the left tackle didn't hear the man call, and so the left defensive end came free on it, and so Cody can't really see. And so what happened was the safety came off the post, off of Marquise and intercept the wheel route to the tight end. But that's one of those where you got to know everything that's going on before you blame the quarterback. He can't really see that because we missed the man call on the backside. We don't block the defensive end. Otherwise, he's going to see it and obviously not force the throw. So I thought Cody really played well. Obviously, the 1 interception to Marquise is not his fault at all. They did a great job picking up the protection on the backside in a tough situation coming out of the end zone, and threw a strike on the post, which I think probably would have went for a huge play.
Based on what you had seen, in the first 4 games, could you have imagined that if you guys scored 48 points that you would lose a game?
Yeah, I just you never know. That's why every game, you can't just go into the game thinking something. You got to have a plan for all the different things that are going to happen. Today it was that day. And what really caught up to us, we had been really risky in the back end, and our front had played so well that it hadn't shown up. And it was a big concern of ours watching the film is there's some guys running open in those first games, but they can't get it off because the defensive front was so dominant, and we were too aggressive. Sue was coming up too much, playing on runs and making plays, and then it really cost us today because they were able to block us and those guys were running free.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.